What's going on, everybody? We are here with a review for Nick Cage's new movie, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Now, this is a series that I haven't done for quite a long time, but I want to get back into things. The short gist of it is instead of reviewing the movie itself, we go over what other people are saying about it and review their reviews. As you can see right off the bat, this movie on Rotten Tomatoes, we're also going to look at IMDb afterwards. But first glance, I mean, it's doing really well. 80% fresh, and audience score is also an 80%, so that's matching up well. I myself just watched this movie the other day. So yeah, let's jump into it. So we'll start right here with the tomato meter reviews. Let's see, and I have not gone through these myself. I wanted this to be a first reaction. So we've got, I'll go here with this top critic, Danny Lee from Financial Times. The most meta touch of all is that the star makes the film hard to resist. An actor of weirdly heroic overcommitment saving the day in duplicate. I mean, yeah. The movie, it does a really good job of giving both Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal room to shine. Even in scenes where they're in the same scene together, there's moments where one of them shines and the other one, for even if it's like a brief moment or something, kind of takes a back seat and lets the other one have the moment, which you could chalk that up to writing, but I also think that a lot of credit should go to both of their chemistry together. I think they had fantastic chemistry in this movie. And we will jump down here to Sebastian Zavala Khan. Even if you're not the biggest Nick Cage fans, it's worth giving it a shot. I'm sure you'll have a good time watching it, and you'll even be encouraged to watch some of Cage's classic movies. Full review in Spanish. Gave it a 4 out of 5. That he does bring up a good point of you'll be encouraged to watch some of Cage's classic movies. Personally, the movie that made me fall in love with cinema from day one was The Rock, which is one of the reasons I was excited to see this movie, because Nick Cage obviously is the star of that film, but that movie's always been like very close to me. So it's nice. A lot of moments in this movie they give credit where credit's due, and they toss nods and odes to basically his whole career. There's moments where even in the background on like a TV screen, you'll see like a quick glance of a movie that he's been in. There's punchlines. There's funny little moments that just kind of shine light on all these amazing films that Nicolas Cage has been in, and it kind of really drives home the point that to a lot of people, he's kind of underrated. Like everybody knows the name Nicolas Cage, but there's so many people nowadays that when they talk about some of their favorite movies or some of the best movies of all time and actors nowadays, it's hard to find people who will say that Nicolas Cage is like top tier. And usually when you bring up his name, people remember. But usually you hear people nowadays talking more about like Marvel and things like that, which like yeah, those always have the spotlight, but this movie kind of reminds, I assume, at least from people I've talked to, that it reminded a lot of people just like the acting power that Nicolas Cage has always had. We'll go here to another top critic out of Cincinnati, Ohio. It's a little more heartwarming than what you'd think, and that is also very true. That is also very true. That's a good point. There's a whole understory with Nick Cage and his wife and daughter, or estranged wife and his daughter in the film. Um, and there's a lot of touching moments with that. And then also the relationship between him and Pedro Pascal's character, Javi. Pedro plays the character Javi. There's a bunch of very heartwarming scenes between the two of them, and a lot of funny heartwarming scenes between the two of them. Like there's a lot of moments where, dude, at this point I'm doing a movie review, but there's a lot of moments where midpoint of the movie, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but um, there's plenty of moments that are comedic moments that still have that kind of hangover style of brotherly love in within the moment, within the comedy, and within all the laughing. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is a light, feel-good victory lap for Cage and fans of Face Off. That is, they do bring that one up a couple times, but it's not even the most meta film the star of adaptation ever made. That's a good point from Chris McCoy. Yeah, all these reviews are doing pretty well. 4 out of 5, 3.5, 3.5, 4, 3, 4, 9 out of 10. Despite already sounding incredible on paper, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is even better than expected. I was pleasantly surprised. I went in assuming it was going to be different than it was, but I was when I finished it, I was happy with that. And we can go back to the audience score, and we'll just scroll down. All right, Danny Lee again. Top critic. We read that one already. Charlie Lee from The Atlantic. Even in scenes riffing on the 90s action movies that made Cage a household name, all shootouts, car chases, and gunslinging standoffs, Cage and Pascal are magnetic to watch for their earnestness. I would agree with that one. Jake Wilson, top critic. The traditional comic pairing proves to be the film's main attraction, and for all Cage's showboating, Pascal for quite a while looks set to take over as the real star. I kind of got the impression that it was more of sharing the spotlight, not really Pascal for quite a while looks set to take over as the real star. I didn't I didn't get the impression that they were building him up to take over something like some kind of passing of the torch with action movies, especially I mean Pedro Pascal's been in some amazing roles, obviously Mandalorian, but then also his work in Game of Thrones are his two most notable roles. This movie is one of his top performances in my opinion, but I never got that impression. The next perfect Cage film may already be in the pipeline, groaning under the unbearable weight of massive talent. For now, you'll have to settle for this merely intermittently awesome unbearable weight of massive talent. Interesting take. I'll have to think on that. I'll have to sit on that one a bit. Let's go down to some of these audience reviews. Oh, yeah, those were critic reviews I was still going over. Okay. Here we go. So 4 stars out of 5. A fun film with an even more fun concept. Exactly what to watch on a Friday night with friends. Yeah, I mean, if I had friends watching it, it would have had a completely different feel. Especially knowing my friends, but I'd still recommend being able to watch it alone. I liked watching it alone, just to not have any distractions or anything. 4.5 stars out of 5. The unbearable weight of missed opportunity. Okay, this was a great and original concept, but sadly it was poorly executed. Now I understand Cage's reluctance to do this film, seeing it was to be directed and written by noob filmmaker Tom Gormican. This film, being his second full-length feature film, had Cage insisted Gormican have a seasoned writer tweak his screenplay. I know I would have enjoyed this much more. There were many convoluted, unnecessary, and incohesive scenes, although there were a few laughs, much of the comedy felt forced and stale. The performances, however, were outstanding, and the buddy bromance chemistry between Cage and Pascal was amazing. The 107-minute runtime flew by with the spot on pacing. I do agree the pacing was very well. Cinematography and score were on point. And the landscapes and settings spectacular. Yep. Nevertheless, it was great to see Cage play himself with some throwbacks to his earlier films. I did enjoy it, but wouldn't see it again as it's predictable and pedestrian. Thus, it's a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10? I was expecting this guy to give it like a 5 out of 10. Harris T. I have points where I disagree with here. So, the original concept, but sadly, it was poorly executed. I would not say it was poorly executed. I think the original thing, I know Nicolas Cage gave an interview where he said that it wasn't the type of movie he wanted to make. He wanted to make something more true to himself. So here where it says it was great to see Cage play himself with some throwbacks to his earlier films, he's not really playing himself. He said in an interview that he's playing a neurotic, anxiety-riddled version of himself. So it's not like the real Nick Cage. Like, he's playing a character named Nick Cage, but he's playing a more movie star, neurotic, exaggerated version of himself. That's not the true, if you knew Nick Cage in real life type of thing. And I know he was saying in summation that he wanted to do more of the real Nick Cage, but the directors and people were kind of like audiences don't really want to see that, and ended up kind of changing the feel of the movie and the character that he was portraying. So he's not really playing himself. Um, this part, I don't see this. I can't in good conscience agree with this. I think that's unfair. I think everybody obviously starts somewhere. Um, I don't think you need to have a seasoned writer tweak your screenplay. I think getting other people's opinions on it might help, but at the end of the day, a more seasoned writer, it's still a writer. Every writer has their own artistic styles, their own opinions, everything like that. And as artists, you shouldn't have to, like, imagine if a painter was like, oh, this is only my second painting I've ever done. I need to ask a more seasoned painter to tweak my work. Obviously, very different fields, but a different artist is going to come in and see a different um, piece of work than what your heart and what your passion is driving you to make. So they might not understand your vision. They might not really listen to or try to fully encapsulate what you're encapsulating. They might go off of what they know has worked for them in their career. And if you let more experienced people come in and change your work, it's no longer authentic to you as the artist. Um, I don't think he needed a seasoned writer to tweak his screenplay. I would not agree with that, and I wouldn't agree with that with any film, really. There's plenty of films out there where seasoned writers have dropped the ball, where it wasn't their best work. It might not have turned out well. Production changes things. There's so many aspects to it. I just can't in good conscience agree with that. I feel it's unfair to somebody who gets to finally break out in an industry that's very hard to break out in, to finally get a chance to screenplay or to write a second full length feature film. Like it's a huge deal. But again, it's his second, right? There's a lot that goes into yeah. Um, Pacing, yeah. The rest of that's fine. Let's move on. This one, indeed, Paddington 2 is the best movie of all time. No spoiler, but I think I'm gonna stop with Rotten Tomatoes on that one. Oh, you gave it a 3 out of 5. All right, that's fair. But this one, we're gonna end on that one. Indeed, Paddington 2 is definitely the best movie of all time. Let's move over to IMDb. So we've got IMDb rating of 7.3 out of 10. Right, so I kind of want to see some lower reviews. Refined by demographic. Non-US users, US users. That's cool. Okay, where's user reviews? 9 out of 10. I did not expect that. It's fair to say that I haven't always been the biggest fan of Nicolas Cage, but it's not the talent, it's often the film choices, similar to Michael Caine. He's really has made some shockers. What this film does, however, is poke a little fun at his past. It's tongue-in-cheek, but it's cracking movie. Yeah, energetic, zips along, loaded with irony. It's plain to see that Cage has a sense of humor. This is really a winner for him. Yeah, there's a kind of undertone moment a couple times where he is like in his own head talking to himself, but it's like a 90s action star version of Nick Cage. Super egotistical version, and it's kind of like one of those things that's like a devil on everyone's shoulder. I think that's what Sleepin' Dragon was pointing at here. 10 out of 10. This is a quote from one of the scenes. Don't want to give any spoilers, so I won't go into that. I kind of want to see some lower rated reviews. I want to see 4 out of 10. It's really not that great. I was led to believe this was the greatest film ever. It isn't. All the best parts are in the trailer. There is good chemistry between the two leads, though. Yes, there is very good chemistry between the two leads. I disagree with this part. I would not say it's like one of the greatest films ever. I would say it is a great film. and it's definitely very fun to watch. I think a lot of people might have went in expecting like something super deep and not as much of like a blockbuster fun to watch film, but there it definitely has a lot of moments that it hits close to home with. 6 out of 10, but unfortunately the comedy just didn't click for me. This is one of those self-aware comedies, and it's actually okay in terms of entertainment, but that's kind of it. Don't get me wrong, it got a smile here and there, and the interaction between the two main characters was fun at times, but had long stretches of boring nothingness. I wouldn't. No, it did not have long stretches of boring nothingness. That's not true. I can't even like the only two moments I could think of that are like even close to boring nothingness did not last longer than very brief moments. I don't want to keep reading that one. I saw a possible spoiler, even though I left it on the screen. All right, let's try and find another low-rated one. Let's see if anybody gave it like super low ratings. I mean, you can see like I'm scrolling and warning spoilers. These are all okay. Here we go. 3 out of 10. Flooded with fake reviews. Boring, lame. This movie is slow and barely watchable. Well, that's not true. It's not slow. All these great reviews before opening day. If you want to watch close-up of Cage since he's in most of the scenes, this is for you. None of the characters really fit together. Overused cliche is boring. His younger self is a scene that doesn't work either. Only lasts 30 minutes or so in any good. His worst film. Well, I don't think it's his worst film. I think he's definitely done worse films, in my opinion. But I don't know. This one kind of seems a little angry. None of the characters really fit together. I don't agree with that one. None of the characters really fit together. I can't agree with that one. No, because like Pedro Pascal's character and his cousin, I think they fit together because they were kind of like a. I mean, if you watch the movie, you'll see it's one of those kind of, I don't want to say tormenting moments for Javi's character, but so Javi and his cousin, they have a pretty compelling moment, and then Javi and I believe her name is Gabriella or Gabrielle. Obviously, Javi and Nick Cage and his ex-wife, and then Nick Cage and his daughter. His daughter does a really good job of playing the like 16-year-old girl who usually you kind of expect these movies to do like, oh, the teenager's just rebellious and doesn't do what their parents want, but they kind of show in this one where it's like the neurotic side of Nick Cage was putting too much on his daughter, and that made her close off to him and have a lot of her own issues. So I think they did well with that. Like, I can't agree with that one. I want to see if there's a low-rated one that I can agree with, though. But like you're seeing, I'm scrolling. 9, 9, 7, 9, 10, 6, 9, 6, 9, 2. Okay, not funny, not anything. Clearly a first draft. It needed some serious rewrites and then some acting talent and a director who wasn't a hack. Everybody comes off as unfunny and flat and phoning it in. I'm confused. What was this supposed to be? This part I can't agree with. Mainly because we know that it's not the first draft, especially after interviews and discussions of how the story evolved over time. It needed some serious rewrites. I can't agree with that. I could understand some parts could have been rewritten. There's like 1 or 2 scenes I'm thinking of that I would not say everybody comes off as unfunny and flat and phoning it in. There are 2 scenes, not even 2 scenes, 2 small moments that I could see having to be a little bit forced. That if they were rewritten or written differently might have landed a bit better, but and then some acting talent, I can't agree with that one. You have Nicolas Cage in the movie, And then the other actors, like his ex-wife does really well. Obviously, Pedro Pascal's Pedro Pascal. His daughter does really well with her part. The cousin, like I think everybody did a perfectly fine job acting. And then for a director who wasn't a hack, I didn't really get any hacky moments. I think the creative decision might, in a couple parts, could come across as hacky if you're like super picky, but I wouldn't say it was hacky. Joke is on you. Warning, spoilers. Well, I'm not going to read that because I don't want to spoil anything here. Let's try and find one more that's really low rated. Astonishingly good. 8.3. The funny parts appear in the trailer. So when I saw in the movie theater the preview, I thought it was pretty funny. So I bought 2 tickets for me and my girlfriend, and it was a shame because it had potential, but they blew it. The pace is slow. I didn't get that impression. I thought the pacing kind of went along since the opening scene. And what happens isn't funny at all. Personally disagree with that, but that's one of the issues with comedy is you can't say what happens isn't funny. You have to say you didn't find it funny because comedy is its opinion, right? To say it isn't funny, like there were moments I laughed, I thought it was funny. So it's like you didn't find it funny. That doesn't mean it isn't funny. All the funny scenes appeared in the trailer, so maybe you should try something else in the movies. 3 out of 10 just because Pedro Pascal is fun. So without Pedro Pascal, I'm assuming he would have given it a 0. I would have... see, the issue with like low ratings like that is they never really dive in enough. Like a lot of these low ratings, sometimes somebody will give it a 3 out of 10 and then they don't really dive in too much or give too much detail to really fully understand what it was that they didn't like. The pace is slow and what happens isn't funny at all. I would have liked an explanation on that. Okay, we'll end on this one, a 1 out of 10. Idiots with Money. This is a movie about idiots with a lot of money. You'll like this movie if you're an idiot, or have slightly higher IQ and enjoy looking down on people. If you're intelligent, it'll anger you. Plot. Guy with money hires Nick Cage to hang. Nick gets told by... You'll like this movie if you're an idiot. Okay. I mean, I guess I'm an idiot. I'll take that. I'll take being an idiot. He just keeps making terrible films. No idea how someone who used to be a talented actor and made so many good movies in the 90s and early 2000s like National Treasure 1 and 2 could stoop to doing this cringe-filled trash as of late. I know he is a drug addict like most of Hollywood. Hollyweed. Is that true? I would have to fact check that. And drinks gallons of alcohol and cocaine like Robert Downey Jr., Jonathan Depp, Al Pacino, Vin Diesel, Dustin Hoffman, Will Smith, and so on. That's pretty loaded. Considering he's sober and has been sober for a long time. I mean, he drinks, but he's not an alcoholic, I don't think so. Or I've personally never seen anything on that. Will Smith. Did I miss something? Like, was there news of him being a druggie or drinking gallons of alcohol and drinking cocaine? And he makes many poor financial decisions and has squandered millions of dollars as a greedy 1%er. All he has to do is invest his money into stocks and live off of the dividends, but he's not an intelligent person. He goes out and buys stupid things like islands and dinosaur bones. Bad writing, poor director, abysmal cinematography, poor act cohesion, no Truffaut moment, which is screenplay writing 101. This is one of those reviews where we can ignore it, personally, because this was the only part where he gave an actual review. The rest of this is just hating on rich, successful people, which I'm not saying you're wrong to do. but I know he is a drug dealer like most of Hollywood and drinks gallons of alcohol and cocaine like Jonathan Depp. I've never in my life seen somebody type Jonathan Depp or say Jonathan Depp. So it comes off a little snarky and like high horsey to be like, I'm going to call him Jonathan Depp. He's a drug addict like Jonathan Depp. All he has to do is invest his money into stocks and live off the dividends. Like, okay. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion, but this just seems a lot like you need to go on a hike and clear your head and meditate, maybe pray if that's your thing, talk to a therapist, work work through the things that are making you so angry that this is what you do with your free time. As for this part, the actual review, I can't agree with abysmal cinematography. Poor act cohesion. I wouldn't say poor act cohesion. I can see where this stemmed from, but I would not fully agree with that. Yeah. Well, I think I think we did good enough here, going over a ton of reviews. So yeah, if you guys check out the movie, I'd love to see what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Take care.